Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Soumya Ramaswamy and I am a PhD student at Department of Anesthesiology at University Medical Center Groningen, Netherlands. Today, I will be presenting my work on EEG-based patient monitoring using artificial intelligence. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank my professor, Michel Struss, who is the director and chairman of at Department of Anesthesiology at UMCG, and who is also my promoter. And I would also like to thank Dr. Hugo Vericke for providing me an opportunity to present my work here at ISAP platform. And I would like to show the conflict of interest from our research group. However, I don't have any personal or financial benefits from any of these. To start with, let's consider a simple automated temperature control system. So when you feel too cold, the heater is turned on, and when you feel too hot, the heater is turned off. In this way, the temperature of the house is maintained with a simple thermostat. How about developing or implementing such system in the operation room for the anesthesiologists? So when the patient is awake, you can increase the anesthetic drug dosage. And when the patient is sedated or if he's in coma, you can reduce the dosage of anesthesia. And instead of a simple thermostat, a monitor can be used to record the vitals of the patient and other physiological parameters. From the literature, we know that general anesthesia and sedative agents induce changes in EEG, and these changes can be used to monitor sedation levels. And there are many sedation level monitors that are available in the market. Some of them are BIS, M-entropy monitors, etc. They usually range, the value, the BIS index ranges between 0 to 100. 0 means the patient is completely sedated with a flatline EEG here, and 100 means the patient is totally awake. The BIS value usually ranges from 40 to 60, which is suitable for the surgery. These monitors are available in the market, but the literature suggests even though we use them in the ICU and in surgery rooms, there are certain limitations with these monitors. They does not work across all the drugs. They does not work for all the age groups, and that does not work in the ICU settings when there is a multimodal sedation. And there is a significant time delay of around some 10 to 40 seconds in making a decision and displaying a number. Hence, these sedation level monitors are not real-time monitors. So let's see why this current EEG-based devices does not work for all the drugs. Yeah, here is the multi-taper spectrogram of propofol. As you can see, when the patient is awake, there is no power here in the alpha band. And when the patient is sedated, that is in between these two black dotted lines, there is a power here in the alpha band in a deep sedated state. This is a typical multi-taper spectrogram of propofol. And here is the spectrogram of dexmedetomidine. When the patient is in deep sedated state, you can see the increased power in the spindle band and also in the delta band here. From this, we can conclude that different drugs produce different EEG signatures. So let's see why these current devices fail to perform. As you can see, the spectrogram of propofol looks completely different from spectrogram of dexmedetomidine. And when you design a sedation level monitoring system using propofol, and you give the patient either Dex or any other similar drug, the system expects to see this pattern, and it keeps on increasing the dosage of anesthesia. So the index will read high when the patient is well anesthetized, and it keeps on increasing till it see the power here in the alpha band. So in that case, either the patient is over sedated or he reaches burst suppression. So, and here are the EEG patterns across some of the drugs. Here, as you can see, the spectrogram of all these drugs looks completely different. In the spectrogram of propofol, when the patient is in deep sedated state, you can see the power here in alpha band. And for sevoflurane, when the patient is in deep sedated state, there is a power here in the theta band. And for ketamine, you can see power in the upper beta band here when the patient is in deep sedated state. And for the dexmedetomidine, there is a power in the spindle band. So these different drugs target different molecular receptors, and they have different neural circuits, and they have different molecular mechanisms. Hence, they have different EEG signatures. So the challenge was, is it possible to develop a sedation level monitor which works across all the drugs? This was the question I tried to answer during my PhD. So instead of developing a drug-specific system, why not mix all the drugs, put it in a blender, and use a machine learning algorithm to predict the sedation level outcome? So we call this as a drug-independent system. So our algorithm will not know which drug it is using to predict the sedation level outcome. So to test this idea, we performed an experiment on 102 healthy volunteers, where 36 of them received propofol, 36 of them received sevoflurane, and 30 of them received dexmedetomidine. And the EEG was recorded with a sampling rate of 5 kilohertz, and it was downsampled it to 250 hertz in order to reduce the computational complexity. And we used MOS score to predict the sedation level outcome. And we used frontal EEG channels FP1, FP2, F7, and F8. And we used binary classification between MOS score 0 and 1 versus MOS score 4 and 5. And area under receiver operator curve was used as the performance metrics. And we used leave one out cross validation. Like we trained our model on 101 volunteers, and we tested on the remaining one. Similarly, we performed it for all the 102 volunteers. So this work has been published in British Journal of Anesthesia. So in a nutshell, we used multi-channel EEG. We pre-processed it, removed noise and artifacts, and we extracted 44 features from time, frequency, and entropy domains. And since we used multi-channel EEGs, we took the median across channels. And then we used logistic regression to predict the sedation level outcome. And here is how we extracted the 44 features. So let's say these little arrow marks are the MOS scores, and we took exactly 60 seconds preceding the MOS score. And here is the 60-second EEG segment, and then we divided those 60-second EEG segments into 4-second small epochs. And from each epoch, we extracted 44 quantitative EEG features. So it comes to 15 into 44 QEEG grids. And we used logistic regression for classification and elastic net regularization for feature selection. And here are the 44 features that are most commonly used for EEG analysis. Since there were multi-channel EEGs, we took median across channels. And these are the commonly used features from the literature. So we use the same from time, frequency, and entropy domains. So you can find the details of all these features in the published paper. And here are the results that we obtained from the individual features. Here, x-axis is the AUC and y-axis are the 44 features. We used individual drugs, propofol, sevoflurane, and dexmedetomidine. And here, the black little dot is the mean, and this purple bar is the confidence interval. So from this, we concluded that no single feature was able to efficiently differentiate between awake and sedated state, meaning the AUC was not one in any of these. And the relative entropy feature had the highest AUC for both propofol and sevoflurane here, with an AUC of 0.87 and 0.71 respectively. And for dexmedetomidine, singular value decomposition entropy outperformed other features with an AUC of 0.66. And then we implemented machine learning algorithm. So in the drug dependent mode, we trained our model on propofol and tested on propofol. Here, PP means we trained it on propofol and tested it on propofol. Similarly, for sevoflurane, we trained our model on sevoflurane and tested it on sevo, and for dex. So we got an AUC of 0.97 for propofol and 0.74 for sevoflurane and 0.77 for dexmedetomidine. But when we trained our model on one drug and tested it on the other, there was a significant drop in the performance. Like here, we trained our model on dexmedetomidine and tested it on propofol. The AUC was 0.82, similarly 0.66, and so on. So there was a significant drop of 11% in the performance. And then we tried the drug independent mode. Like we trained our model on all the drugs and tested it on propofol. Similarly, we trained it on all the drugs and tested it on sevoflurane and dex. So we got an AUC of 0.95 for propofol, 0.73 for sevo, and 0.76 for dexmedetomidine. So there was only 1.5% drop in the prediction performance, indicating that the overall AUC in the drug independent mode was 0.83. And there was an additional problem during this analysis because MOS scores are discrete. So if we had to apply, we had to use a 6-class classification problem or a multi-class problem. In our case, yeah, it would be 6. And it would be too complicated to do the analysis. Hence, we used mapping to convert these discrete MOS scores into a continuous probability score. We used sigmoid function. We trained our model on MOS score 4 and 5 and sedated MOS scores 0 and 1. And we mapped it using sigmoid function to get a continuous probability score. Yeah, here are the results from an individual drug, propofol. As you can see in the figure, the solid blue line is the MOS score, which ranges from 5 here to 0 and then again back to 5. And the orange solid line is the prediction performance when the model was trained on propofol and tested it on propofol. So it usually ranges between 0 to 1, 0 being the patient completely sedated and 1 being the patient totally awake. So let's say the prediction probability was 0.6. This means there is a 60% chance that the patient is awake. And the orange dotted line indicates the prediction probability of our model when it was trained on all the drugs and tested on propofol. So as you can see here, the red solid line and red dotted line are almost similar, with a Spearman correlation of 0.9, indicating that our model was drug independent one. And our model will not know which drug it is using in predicting the sedation level outcome. And here are the conclusions that we got from our first study. Each drug has its own characteristic EEG signature, and this signature relates back to the underlying drug mechanism. And machine learning model trained on one drug performed poorly on the other drug. And incorporating several quantitative EEG features and machine learning algorithms improves the prediction performance. And the next question we tried to answer was why these current EEG-based devices does not work across all the age groups. So as we age, our brain also ages, and the strength of the neurons, it starts diminishing. So here are the spectrogram of the patients from different age groups. As you can see here, there is a 3-year-old patient, 14-year-old, 57-year-old, and an 81-year-old patient. So in the older population, there is no power here in the alpha band. So let's say we develop a sedation level monitor considering the younger population, so it will definitely not work on the older population and vice versa. We also noticed that these sedation level monitors does not work on the genders also. They are like gender specific. If a model works on male, it will not work on the female and vice versa. To overcome these problems, we developed a novel artificial intelligence framework, and we used a blender system here as well. And we called it as universal sedation level prediction system, where it is independent of drug, sex, and age. So this paper is published in Journal of Clinical Monitoring and Computing. In this study, we compared the performance of several nonlinear machine learning algorithms. We used advanced machine learning algorithms here. We used large EEG data set, and we included the opioid remifentanil as an additional drug for the analysis. And we evaluated the robustness of the proposed framework across different age groups and sex. And here are the results that we obtained from the drug independent study. We performed some nonlinear machine learning algorithms like elastic net regularization, support vector machine with Gaussian kernel, and we used random forest and ensemble tree with bagging. And all models had an AUC of 0.8 without remifentanil. And when remifentanil was added, the performance was dropped. However, for the tree-based methods, they were not sensitive to with the addition of remifentanil. As you can see, with and without addition of remifentanil in the ensemble tree bagging here, it is almost the same. And we got an highest AUC for the ensemble tree with bagging method with an AUC of 0.88. And this is a heat map of the feature selection by the algorithm. Here, x-axis is the feature selected and y-axis is the number of patients. And these are the weights that we used. We usually normalized it to 1. And the dark blue line indicates the highest weight selected by the algorithm. So like without remifentanil, the weight looks different, and when we added remifentanil, the feature selected, you can see here in the dark blue uh, line, the feature selected with remifentanil, it was completely different. And there were only 2 features selected from the spectral domain, indicating that the traditional spectral way of differentiating the sedation level is not very good. And here are the results that we obtained from age. We divided the age group into 3 different groups. Like group 1 was the age between 18 to 35 years, and group 2 was 35 to 50, and then group 3 was from 50 to 70. So we trained our model on one group and tested it on the other. Then there was a performance drop. But the performance remained almost the same when the model was trained on the same group and tested on the same. Yeah. So we concluded that the machine learning and artificial intelligence was much needed to develop an independent sedation level monitoring system with all this. And the third problem we tried to address was why this current EEG-based devices does not work in the ICU settings. Sedation is always a problem in the ICUs. Like till now, we talked about the operation theater settings, but in ICU, it is like much more complicated because of the heterogeneity due to wide range of patient population, and there is no control on age and medical illness. And in the routine care, there is no control on sedation strategy and no control on pain medications. So we need a system that is physiologically based, not tailored to any particular sedative, validated on data from ICU patients, and capture variability between and within the patients. So for this, we could not test this because of the lack of the availability of data from the ICU, but I assume that the system developed before would work in the ICU as well. And since we had the data, we tried addressing the another clinical relevant problem is drug-induced sleep in the ICU is similar to biological sleep. Usually, sedatives are used in ICU to promote sleep and reduce the pain. And when the patient is sedated, we will not know if the patient is unconscious or if he is having a natural biological sleep. And from the literature, we know that the sedative-induced sleep is completely different from natural biological sleep. And also, sleep technicians find it difficult to label the sleep stages. So here we try to address, can artificial intelligence help us to identify natural biological sleep promoting drugs based on EEG patterns? And we try to build a relationship between sleep and sedation here. So we developed a novel framework, and this methodology is published in Sleep Journal. Here we used the publicly available sleep data of almost 13,000 patients, and we extracted 30-second epochs from them, and we also extracted 44 features from time, frequency, and entropy domain, as I explained in the previous algorithm. And we developed the machine learning algorithm, to predict the different sleep stages. And we trained our model on the publicly available sleep data, and we tested it on the dexmedetomidine data from the UMCG. So we tried to map each 30-second epochs from the DEX data to the sleep data. And here are the results that we obtained. 90% of the deep sedated epochs were classified as N3 sleep stage, and 80% of the Moscow 1 epochs were classified as N2. And dexmedetomidine induces non-REM sleep in a dose-dependent manner, and dexmedetomidine-induced EEG patterns during deep hypnotic state mimics non-rapid eye movement stage 3 EEG patterns. And here is the spectrogram of the publicly available sleep data. It is from SHSS, MROS, and this is the UMCG data. This is the N3 sleep data spectrogram, and this is the dexmedetomidine deep sedated state spectrogram from the UMCG data. So as you can see, there is a large variability in the spindle regions and also in the delta region of the spectrogram. This can be noticed in all these three data sets, and only spectral visualization approach may not be ideal here. So here comes the power of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So AI can capture hidden patterns that are not visible to experts. So we used big data analysis here. We used almost 13,000 patients, and we concluded that the N3 sleep stage mimics the deep sedated DEX stage. And to conclude, artificial intelligence and machine learning can be implemented to solve clinical applications, and it provides earlier and better intervention. It prevents negative consequences on person's quality of life, and improve individual health outcomes. However, there are some issues with artificial intelligence. The first one is the data quality. So if there is a good quality of data, then you get good results. And you need resources for the model development, and implementation of these methodologies in the clinical settings is challenging. So thank you very much for your time and listening to my lecture, and you can contact me with the email ID mentioned here. Thank you very much.